Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk, and welcome to the Word Ninja Podcast. We're a 2-hour ramble of writers surviving muses, battling writer's blocks, and encouraging writers to write already. You're joining us for episode 11. And today we have our co-hosts, Edward Midnight and William Granville,
Howdy.
or Darkholm. And Calvin will be joining us along the way at some point. Justin is unable to join us this afternoon because life kidnapped him. It happens.
Should we make a rescue team, try to save him from life?
Yeah, maybe next week. We'll see if he sends out an SOS. But in the meantime, I thought we'd get things rolling. We have some entertaining talking points for you this episode. And kicking things off is talking point number 1. Have you ever taken a facet of a story's universe and tried to either break it, expand it, or figure out what would happen if you really thought outside the proverbial box? And considering the way Edward is rocking back and forth, I'm going to skip him in and go over to Will.
Alright, first I want to say Calvin is attempting to join us, but he apparently did not receive the invite.
That's because I only sent it to one of his 2 accounts. Alright, I'll resend it to both of them for good measure.
Alright. Okay, so, taking a facet of a story's universe and tried to expand it, break it, warp it to my own mutated sensibilities. Only almost every story I've ever read in the history of ever. Not just books and novels, but movies, TV series, video games, manga, anything. If it pulls me in, if I get sucked enough into the story, I will continue it. Put in new angles, create alternate storylines, continue past endings, alternate endings, and all that fun stuff. Let's see. I've attempted crazy-ass crossovers, like combining the Legacy of Drizzt universe with the World of Warcraft universe.
How'd that go?
Chaotic. Part of it was I could never figure out which way to go. Do I take the Forgotten Realms cast and put them into Azeroth, or do I take the Warcraft people and throw them into Faerun? Because that makes the big difference. Considering magic works completely different ways in the 2 universes. I've also taken, when I was reading Harry Potter, I took some of my old original characters that I created way back in high school and was like, what happens if I take these 2 and throw them into Hogwarts as students? How would they react? Mostly, one of them just kept complaining about the lack of Wi-Fi. What do you mean there's no electricity? How am I supposed to charge my cell phone? But yeah, I've never actually written any of these things down, though. They all only exist in my head. But I've definitely done it.
I've lost count of how many of those what-if scenarios I've run through my head for, like, even up to 20 minutes. Never wrote a word of it down, though. And it's probably better that way.
Probably. That's what I say. It's like, this stuff isn't worth writing down. It's entertaining in my head, but I think it should just stay there.
Some of the stuff you come up with really should stay there.
Oh, shush. You're just as bad.
We're getting there.
And we'll do a brief 20-second interlude to say hello to Calvin. You made it.
Hello, Calvin.
Thanks for the invite.
All 4 of them. Figured one of the accounts got to work.
So I'm guessing we're on question 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
In terms of like storybook worlds, I can't really say that I've tried to figure out ways to inject myself into any sort of world that I've read. Music wise, I kind of thrive on going on and expanding upon the ideas of various songs I've listened to, and composers and songwriters that I really like and I gain inspiration from. That's for like TV shows and movies and things like that. I think the only show I've ever tried to expand upon or try to inject myself or characters into was the Wolf's Rain world.
I still need to watch that series.
Too soon.
Bad Calvin.
Sorry. I'm sorry. That was one of my favorite animes next to Cowboy Bebop.
I'm gonna agree with that one, but it ripped my heart out and stomped it on the floor several times.
I know. I was there about 8 years ago, so I understand how you feel. But I in Wolf's Rain I've tried to figure out basically, could I survive such a dystopia as either a human or a wolf living life as a human?
I'd rather be the wolf, then at least you could talk to the other animals.
You do raise a good point there. That all my scenarios point to no. I wouldn't last all that long.
I feel the same way about zombie apocalypses sometimes. Like, would I really do that well in that type of a scenario? No.
No, with us it would definitely be a Shaun of the Dead scenario. I'm going to check to see if the coast is clear. Peek! Peek! Is it clear? No.
And how about Ed?
I loved this one. Because simply for the fact that being a roleplay writer and a fanfic writer, I live on this. I'm that person that will sit there and come up with all this stuff and actually be the one to write it down. When, most people would say, no, stop. I love doing it. Like I said, being an RP writer, I almost have to do that because everybody and their grandmother has read the original story, and it's not fun to just play that. You have to almost ask yourself, what if, or could I create a character that would fit in this world? The brainchild of many OCs, but we won't get into OCs. I have a serious bone to pick with a lot of people in their OCs, but that's for another time. But yeah, no, I love it because I sit there and I take my primary character Ed, and a lot of people actually hate me for this one, or love me to hate me. I'm not entirely sure. But and I'll take it and I'll look at it like, well, what would happen if Ed has this major thing against killing people? Well, what happens if he does? Stuff like that. I think that's kind of how I use it.
On purpose or by accident?
Both.
At the same time?
Well, you could.
How do you accidentally kill someone on purpose? Or purposefully kill someone on accident.
I swear I thought that gun was unloaded.
That's exactly how it would be for Ed, too, I swear to God.
Could have one of those scenarios where you go to shoot someone with an unloaded gun and the fear of getting shot gives them a heart attack and they die anyway. Then you would accidentally kill someone on purpose.
Problem solved.
I also like changing endings. But I'm horrible like that.
Anything to keep him away from Winry?
No! I make it plausible, shut up. And I write him with Winry too.
I know.
I'm not that bad.
Sometimes you are.
I can write him with Winry. I write him with other girls too, it's not just boys I write him with either. Because I know you were going to say something. Like, I'm actually massaging a quite interesting storyline between Ed and Maria Ross. Shush. It's cute. Shut up.
We didn't say a thing.
I don't have to see his face to know what's on it.
On that note, I'll chime in. I tend to just like to try and break other people's universes. My example for this question was the Harry Potter universe and the whole polyjuice potion. Like, what if you take the hair of someone who's already using the polyjuice potion, and then you make a polyjuice potion from that? So, would your polyjuice potion turn yourself into the true imposter or the person that they are pretending to be? Which one overrides the other?
Ooh.
That's interesting.
And then, is it just, how do temporal mechanics fit in? So say you're 20 years old, you take a lock of your hair and you somehow save it because magic, and then 10 years from now you use that hair to make a polyjuice potion and give it to someone. Do they turn into current age you or 20-year-old you?
That actually sounds pretty fun to explore.
Those are the types of what-if situations that could probably break a universe, but would be very entertaining to try and write, to figure out how to make it work.
Could you use that to stay young forever?
That
Like-
was one of the things I wanted to try and figure out. Like, if
Like
you just...
your 20-year-old hairs, and then when you're 60, just keep drinking the polyjuice potion with your 20-year-old hair to stay 20?
What if at, say, 21, you shave your head, and you just save all of that hair, and then when you're 40 or so, you start using a little bit every once in a while, and you can be young forever. Maybe it's a cheater's philosopher's stone.
And then going to the first point, you would turn yourself back to 20, and then you'd have your own hair to take to make more polyjuice potion with.
But because the hair is already polyjuiced, would it still be as effective?
I don't think it would last as long, but I still think it would work.
Could work.
Is there a point of diminishing returns with polyjuiced hair?
Wow.
This is why writers are horrible, horrible people.
Yeah, you're right.
And yet, I'm sure some Harry Potter fanfic writer will figure something out within the next year or so of how to do this,
We'll just
because
have
the
to focus
fandom
on
has
all the
returned.
Potterheads.
They're already up in a roar anyway.
It's true. They're all super excited. Super ethereal excited.
I wasn't even that big of a fan of the series, but I wouldn't mind rereading them just to kind of get a refresher, because it was a pretty entertaining story overall.
I didn't mind the story. It was good. Except for Calvin's phone.
No, that's mine this time around.
Oh.
Yeah.
Someone's phone. Except for Order of the Phoenix, I believe. That one pissed me off. as a reader, I wanted to reach into the pages and slap Harry many times.
That one was so full of teen stupidity. Ugh! I almost stopped reading the entire series because of that one.
I had trouble with that one too.
I think I only had the first 3 books on hand as they came out, and then the rest I just waited for the library to get a copy. I got lazy. And poor. Are there any other stories or universes we'd like to break before moving on to talking point number 2? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I break every universe I touch. So.
I tend to do that too. But I can't
I've got
think of
nothing.
anything that would be interesting to actually talk about right now.
Then on to talking point number 2. Just as movies are regularly remade nowadays, a little too often, are there any books or series you'd wish could be revamped or at least revisited? Who would like to kick this one off before I mandatorily volunteer someone?
I didn't have much to say on this one because Will and I pretty much agree on it.
And what is that agreement between the two of you?
Give me a second.
I'll go through it. Basically, my opinion is no. I don't think I don't think I'd like to see any books revamped like what they're doing with movies. I don't really like the revamping of movies that they're doing. Yeah, some of them are a bit dated. You know, you watch an older movie or read an older book, and there's something in it that you go, wow, those don't exist anymore. Like rewatching old seasons of the X-Files from the mid-1990s. And the mobile phone, oh my god, it's a brick. When they pull out the mobile phone out of their pocket and it's like this big,
That's a book, a good
and you
novel.
got to pull the antenna out to make it work.
The good old Zach Morris phones.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Younger viewers are going, what?
Hey, at least those phones had good reception, unlike some of the ones we have nowadays.
Yeah.
All this sports crap.
But let's see. What was I saying? I think I like the dated feel of them because it puts it into the proper time frame. You know?
I
And I was
agree.
also wondering who would dare to actually do it. Would you want to be the one to modernize War of the Worlds?
Not really.
That was the movie.
Yeah, they tried to do that with the
But I think
movie.
that's also because they picked Tom Cruise.
Would you want to modernize 20,000 Leagues Beneath the Sea? And give them like a nuclear submarine? No, it ruins part of the original mystery of the book.
I could see Michael Bay and Jerry Bruckheimer trying to accomplish that.
Yeah, well, they cannot.
They will try, I'm sure.
Plus, just for the sense of revamping books, like writing a new book that updates an older book, I wouldn't see much money in it either. Because that's just the unfortunate reality right now of books, sadly, is that people just aren't buying them and reading them anymore. Not when they can go see the movie. Read the book!
RTFB.
Yeah,
That's funny, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Plus, frankly, I think that the whole revamping thing, I don't know, I'd rather see people spending their time and energy writing new original stories than just modernizing existing stories. But that's just my opinion.
I'm actually in agreement with you and Ed. Like it would take a lot of like intestinal, testicular, whatever body part you can think of, fortitude for a person to really say, I'm going to do this over and I'm going to make a better version of it, or make it more modern or something like that. They would have a ton of death threats or like dismembered or decaying animal parts coming in their mailbox just for thinking about that. There's so many books out there that have inspired generations of readers and authors and engaged them, and it wouldn't really make sense to kind of besmirch that legacy just because you think you can do better. I don't agree with revamps. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But with that being said, I think it would make more sense, and it would be a lot easier in my mind to do a revisit, like take an already existing world and try to inject yourself into it, like build characters within that world.
Like write a whole story with that world.
Yes.
Okay.
That takes a lot of imagination in itself. Now, trying to build your own world or trying to build characters in an already existing world. Like you could immerse yourself in a lot in pre-existing worlds. I mean, imagine what you could work with in the worlds that were created by the likes of like J.R.R. Tolkien, Jules Verne, H.G. Wells. Even like that would be work in itself.
Again, as a role player, I enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
I love it. Love it.
So inspired world visiting. I'm all for that.
That almost brings us back to talking point number 1.
Yeah, that's actually why I like that second question.
Alright, so revamps are pretty much out across
Never.
the board.
Yep.
It's mostly more revisiting or expanding upon stuff that's already been created is potentially worthwhile, depending on how it's done.
Right.
That is the definition of fandom. Give us more.
Yes, give us more.
If you won't give it to us, we'll create it ourselves.
MOAR, more.
Well, isn't that what Rowling is doing now, by expanding the Harry Potter universe?
Yeah. My understanding is that she's making a movie series based off of, what was it,
The monster book from
Magical Beasts and Where to Find Them, or whatever it's called.
I think
Something
it's
like that.
I think it's Prisoner of Azkaban that one shows up in.
Yeah, it's the one Hagrid had them use. Yeah.
So there's also talk of her doing the thing with the Bard's Tale.
Yeah, I'd heard that. I give cred that she's actually a screenwriter on it, though. So she's actually writing or helping to write the scripts for the movies.
Very rare to see like actual author input into a movie, so that's kind of refreshing.
Hopefully it works out well.
Hopefully.
It would be nice if it were actually a precedent for future movie endeavors, so you can get the author's involvement, so that the movie renditions don't suck.
Assuming the authors are still alive.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Unless maybe that's why the Lord of the Rings movies were so good, that they channel the spirit of Tolkien.
Then what did they do to The Hobbit?
I don't know, I haven't seen it yet. All I know, it's got to be better than the made-for-TV cartoon adaptation of it from back in the 80s.
I actually
I
enjoyed
liked that one. The Rankin Bass adaptation of the book was perfectly respectable. It was their adaptation of The Lord of the Rings that fell apart.
I didn't see that one.
You didn't miss much.
I stuck to just reading them.
Although their version did have a couple decent songs. But that was about it. Yeah, the new rendition of The Hobbit, you're not missing that much. Well, actually, considering he made one book into 3 movies, you are missing a lot. It's just you won't mind missing it.
Hmm.
I already own it now, so I just have to actually sit down and watch it.
There's no time for that. It's too long, and it's only part 1 of 3.
That I'd sit down any day to watch all 3 extended volumes of Lord of the Rings, 4 hours each. So long they couldn't fit the whole thing on one DVD. Each one is on 2 DVDs, 6 DVDs total.
That's insane.
You're only the second person I know that has sat and watched the entire extended edition of that movie
I didn't do it
in
all
one sitting.
I didn't do it all in one sitting, but I did watch the entire thing.
Garrett did it all in one shot.
I could do it. I've sat through longer. I once watched the entirety of Neon Genesis Evangelion in one sitting. That was 26 half-hour episodes.
That there is plausible.
Did you at least have popcorn or something?
Yes. My cousin and I made a night of it. At the end, we both went, "What?"
That's something I wouldn't actually mind doing myself.
I should do that one of these days just so I can say I've actually watched that series finally.
My understanding is you should watch some of the, speaking of revamps, watch the newer adaptations of it. My understanding is that they explain stuff better. I watched the original release.
Alright, I think that covers talking point number 2 pretty well. How about number 3? How do writing challenges or deadlines affect your writing productivity? Does a tighter deadline help or hinder your writing speeds? Anyone?
For me, it helps not only speed but quality too. Some of the best stuff I've done was under a deadline, or I waited at the very last minute to do it. I remember there was a short story that I had to write for a class back in college. CJ, I think you read that one. It was oh God, what was it? It was it was based on the John Updike's WNP, but fast forward to after the main character got fired.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Vaguely.
I wrote that one in a night and got an A. I remember submitting it in class one day, and then the following class, I'll walk in to find my professor reading the story to everybody. So yeah, stories, songs, website projects. If you need it, if you need something really good, really quickly, give me a deadline.
I will keep that in mind.
Yes, that applies to you too. It keeps me more focused and less prone to getting distracted by shiny objects. On normal days, that happens more than I'd care to admit. Oh yeah, Will.
Yes?
and I'm pretty sure none of our podcasters are gonna understand this reference, but the D&D story, 8 hours straight. Finished it a half an hour before I Google Plus you.
I think I remember you mentioning something about that.
You spent 8 hours on that? Wow. I was seriously impressed by the back research that you had done on that. I think you were the only one that actually did any kind of like. When you mentioned the war between the Dragonborns and the Tiefling, my jaw dropped.
It took me 8 hours to write everything, but I did do research beforehand. One of the things that I like to do with deadlines is to try to cram in as much research as I possibly can, because I know that I have the ability to just hammer shit out really quickly and build quality work. So that's just how I work. The mileage varies for other people.
For me, challenge or deadline really does help, because NaNoWriMo is the only challenge I've ever succeeded in regards to long-term writing deadlines. And I mean, I've tried Script Frenzy, failed. Camp Nano, failed. Novel in a Day, failed spectacularly. Same with Novel in a Weekend. And even National Novel Editing Month, I have not succeeded in yet. Mainly because 100 pages of editing in a month is a bitch.
Yeesh.
But yeah, deadlines for my writing and for work are definitely very helpful. Usually the more clear the deadline is of how important you need it by what date, the more guaranteed I will have it done before then, as long as my schedules allow for it. I think one of them, I was given a month to write a 1,000-word article. Like, hey, this is really important. You have a whole month to do it. Oh, really? Well, 2 days later, here it is. Leave me alone now.
See, I'm one of those. I would have been like 2 days before it was due. Okay, let's go. It's the only way deadlines work for me.
Yeah, and if it's a self-set deadline, though, like if it's just me, doesn't work. Like, theoretically, I should be halfway through having written the second book for full coverage writers. Not even close.
Yes, but that's lack of time.
There's plenty of time. I'm just sleeping for those 3 hours of the day.
I think the corollary to deadlines is that you need to have a deadline where in the back of your mind you know there's a consequence if you miss that deadline.
Yeah.
If you set a deadline for yourself, like, I'm gonna set this deadline. Yeah, nothing's gonna happen if I don't miss it. I'm just gonna try to challenge myself. Challenge failed.
This explains a lot about our website progress. Hey, Calvin, set a deadline for yourself.
No.
6 months later, hey, Calvin, can you do this within 1 week? 2 days later, done.
So yeah, just give me a deadline and it'll get done.
Why is it that it's always easier to follow other people's deadlines than our own?
So Calvin, if I give you a deadline for drawing for the comic, would you actually get it done?
There's a good chance that might work. I actually got my tablet back up and running, so
Hooray.
I can actually do it.
I need character designs if I'm going to guest strip for you.
What's that?
I said I need character designs if I'm going to guest strip for you.
Calvin, I need character designs by the end of the week.
That's not likely to happen because I have 2 websites to finish this week.
I'll be nice and say that I won't add mine to that 1 week deadline.
Okay.
You have 8 days.
Hooray!
8 days? That's more than 1 week.
It'll all be done on that 8th day. I don't know. I don't necessarily like date deadlines. I kind of like word goals. Like daily world, like Nano does, it gives you like 1,600 words for the day.
1,667.
What's that?
It's 1,667.
I know, but I was being general. But stuff like that kind of helps me, gets me to do it. Because it's more of a goal than a deadline, and it doesn't feel as intimidating.
Well, you have a 24-hour deadline per day.
Yeah, but you don't think of it that way.
I do.
Okay, I can't think of it that way. If I think of it that way, I freak out and panic. I can't look at it as a deadline. It's a goal. It's a goal. It should be a goal. Positive reinforcement, not negative. Damn it.
No, I need negative reinforcement. Oh shit, I gotta finish this. They're gonna kill me if I don't. I'm gonna get fired. They're gonna talk shit about me on the internet.
We shall shame you on the podcast. Actually, crap, that would work for me.
Shame me all you want, I don't care. I live on shame. I have none, so I live on it. What is this shame you speak of?
So what, as writers we have no shame, we need it from others?
Probably.
Probably.
Look at some of the crap we write. If we had shame, we wouldn't write it. William.
Hey! I never claimed to have any shame.
Let's see.
Did Will go yet?
No, I think it's my turn. I am probably one of those that would be a member of the Order of the Two-Headed Turtle of Procrastinators. I'd take my oath, but I'll get to it later.
Oath's already taken.
No. Why do today to what you could put off till tomorrow? So I need deadlines. I've always needed deadlines, goals, due dates, something that says this needs to be done by now, or else it would never get done. My mother would always yell at me in school. You have a report due in a month. You should do it. Yeah, I'll get to it. It's due in 2 weeks. Yeah, I'll get to it. It's due in a week. Yeah, I'll get to it. It's due in 2 days. Crap, I better do it. So, yeah, I need those due dates. But I'm also apparently the last minute type. I don't know if it's some of my best work, but most consistent work is usually done when the deadline's rearing like an ugly demon goat thing. This seems to work with me for self-imposed deadlines for the most part, too. My roommate's a stripper, since that's self-imposed, but maybe there is a bit of fear of what my readers might think of me if I miss a deadline, and that's what helps. I have to get it out.
Consequence.
Oh, hate me.
See, exactly. Consequence, whether it be rational or otherwise.
They're all looking forward to the next chapter. They read it so diligently, I can't let them down. So, yeah, yeah, I'm last minute typing. I need the deadlines. I'm trying to get better at more consistently writing over the course of a period, like getting the entire chapter done evenly throughout the course of the month instead of majority of it done in the last week of the month. But
where's the fun in that?
on this. What was that?
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah. Well, I've hit a little block right now that I've been sitting on for the past couple days. I know what I want to happen, I'm just not sure how to get there. But, yeah, deadline's good.
Out of curiosity, as kind of a side question to that topic, are any of you good at giving other people deadlines? Or is it just other people should give you a deadline?
Give somebody else a deadline? No.
Are any of you capable of giving another writer a deadline?
Another writer? Are you asking...
Or just in general?
Do you need someone to give you a deadline?
No.
That's usually my question. Like, did they ask me, is there a deadline? Does there need to be one?
I don't think I've ever had to give another writer a deadline, so I don't know. Usually I'm the one doing the writing.
I've learned that I am bad at giving other people deadlines, as Calvin knows all too well.
Just get it done whenever you can. No rush.
I mean, if there's like a real purpose, like I'll use the website as an example. It's like we're going to do a convention or something, and we want to make sure the webpage is perfect when we tell people to go to it. Then I could see having a deadline, but just like right now, it's kind of hard.
I hear that your cat agrees.
Oh, he's being a pain in the tush. Excuse me while I go deal with him.
That seems like a good cue to move on to sponsorships. We are looking for sponsors. Give us your monies. Please.
Please.
Please. We'll love you forever.
Or at least until next week when we do it all over again.
Then you send us more monies and we will continue to love you.
Yes. We have PayPal donation buttons set up on fcwriters.com on every Word Ninja podcast episode post. And basically, you can donate whatever amount you want, but if you donate certain amounts, you get something back. For $1, you get a shout-out. You can promote your site, social media account, your own podcast, or just say hello to us. If you ramp it up to $5, you can get a literary news link or ask a talking points question. So if there's something you want us to banter about or dig into, for the price of a fancy coffee, you can get the entire crew talking. Or at least however many crew peoples we have on that episode. Now, if you really like us, there's the $10 sponsorship. You get to sponsor an entire episode because you really love us and you want to show your appreciation for our shenanigans. All it takes is the price of a decent meal, and we'll praise you for 2 whole hours worth of podcasty goodness. And as always, our perpetual sponsors are Amazon, CreateSpace, and Books A Million. Go over to fcwriters.com, scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, and you'll see 3 little links, one for each of those sites. Click on that link, and then purchase whatever the heck you want. I actually did that with Amazon sometime last week, and I got $20 off of my entire purchase using that one button.
That's a good
Which was really nice. And that money is probably going to go back into the Not Suitable for Writers podcast. Now, if you don't really want to support either of our 2 podcasts for whatever crazy reason, you can always just go to fcwriters.com, go over to the store, and purchase our book, Word Ninja. From concept to creation, revision to publication, Word Ninja provides over 100 articles on the craft of writing from a half-dozen authors. Print copies are currently $15, while the ebook copy is $10. Now, I know some people may realize that that's a bit more than we've offered them at Connecticon. Well, that's because Connecticon, I have my own copies, so I can price it whatever the heck I want. But online, the prices are pretty much fixed at what they are. I can't do discounts at the moment because complications.
Because
So if you really do want a copy of the book, you'll have to wait until Anime Boston, Connecticon, or Connecticut Comic Con next year. And then you can get it at discount. And we'll even sign it for you. And with that, it's time for the What Have You Been Reading and or Writing segment. Hopefully peoples have been reading and or writing.
I'm gonna just tell you right now, no. No to neither. I've been busy.
Shame.
My reading hasn't changed from last week. I haven't written anything special. The news is not in there.
yeah.
Soul Leader's just sitting in my bag waiting for me to pick it back up and continue reading.
I actually have my kid shirt on today.
I haven't read anything, and I've only written. I managed to get like 2 paragraphs written. I am disappointed.
One of these episodes, everyone is going to have read something and written something at the same time, and then this entire segment is going to be like half an hour long.
Well, like I said, I'm still reading the same thing.
I don't see, CJ, where you have the time to read an entire novel in a week. It takes me weeks to get through a single novel.
Same here.
Stuck on a train for like 3 to 4 hours a day. More recently, closer to 4 hours, because Metro North shenanigans. Well, I have been reading Dead Iron, The Age of Steam by Devin Monk, because it's been in my to-be-read pile for way too long. I figured I'd start this series before going back to her Ali Beckstrom series, now that all 9 books are out. And I see that apparently it ends very melodramatically, but some of these side characters are getting their own series, which I look forward to because those side characters are awesome. But going back to Dead Iron, it is a steampunk-style Western book of weirdness and entertainment. The first sentence, to give you an idea, is, Cedar has stared into the killing eyes of rabid wolves, hungry bears, and charging bull elk, but Mrs. Horace Small had them all topped. Yeah, that is not a woman to be messed with, as far as I can tell. And the back cover teaser is, in Steam Age America, men, monsters, machines, and magic battle to claim the same scrap of earth and sky. In this chaos, one man must fight to hold on to what is left of his humanity. Although the devisers have civilized the East with their contraptions, civilization hasn't tamed the frontier that bounty hunter Cedar Hunt rides. Cursed by lycanthropy and carrying the guilt of his brother's death, he's a hard man for hire. But when a trio of miners offers him the possibility that his brother may yet survive, Cedar isn't going to haggle for payment. All he has to do for them is find the Holder, a powerful device created by mad devisers from the realm of the strange. The Holder is in the hands of Shard Lefel, a dandified railroad tycoon who has come to Hallelujah, Oregon, promising a civilized tomorrow. But what Cedar doesn't know is that Lefel is an ancient strange, banished to walk the land for centuries. Now nearing the end of his sentence, Lefel is desperately searching for a way to fend off his own mortality, and the Holder may be the key. In a land shaped by magic, steam, and iron, where the only thing a man can count on is his guns, gears, and grit, Cedar will have to depend on all 3 if he's going to save his brother and reclaim his soul once and for all. And I'm actually only on page 100, so I have no idea what actually happens at the end. But considering there's 2 other books in the series so far, presumably lots of stuff happens.
Okay, that's going on my to-read list.
I'll be done with it by the time we all gather together in October, so you're welcome to have it.
Okay. I may have a copy of my own by then. We'll see.
Yeah, this one is not in the best of conditions at the moment. It's slightly waterlogged, and thanks to school, also has a bit of sauce on it from dinner.
Well,
Thankfully, it is not a signed copy of the book.
A little dinner damage, never hurt.
Well, since I'm the only one that read anything, and the only writing I've done this week was about a 1,000-word letter from my main character's father before he dies. Spoilers. I have not really done much. Although it did help me figure out just what the heck is going to happen in the plot come November.
I write every day, but like I said, I'm a roleplay writer, so...
I try to write almost every day. Sometimes it just ends up with me, pen in hand, staring at the paper for hours.
What you were doing yesterday.
Like I was doing yesterday.
Well, with that, time to talk about upcoming events. We had our regional event yesterday, so the next one up is October 12th, which is a Saturday, from 2 to 5 p.m. over at the Trumbull Library in Connecticut. And it is going to be the last regional write-in before Nano season kicks off. And then the insanity begins. And I'm still waiting to hear back from local libraries for our workshop sessions on surviving the novel writing process. But it is my hope that at least one of those 2-hour sessions I'm going to actually have recorded, either video or just audio, so we can post that up on the website for people who are unable to make it to the local events. And I'm not even going to go into the Nano season yet, because I have yet to solidify that entire calendar, and I don't want to yet. So there.
Talk about procrastination.
You had a couple months to think about it.
I have 6 weeks.
A month and a half. Special guest appearance, Marcus the Cat.
It's the only way I can get him to shut up.
Wait. Oh, for frick's sake.
So yeah, if you see me doing weird stuff, I've got the cat in my lap to keep me quiet.
He's being an attention whore lately, and when we don't pay attention to him, he just stands in the other room and meows.
Yeah, that's what my cat does as well, but also I'm pretty sure he has dementia. He's 19 years old. He's had a really bad case of old.
Oh.
I don't know what his problem is. He's only 4.
He's a teenager. That's his problem.
He's full of angst.
Yes.
He always gets upset when it starts to get cold and we close all the windows.
Aw, poor kitty angst.
Leave her right now. There ain't no kitty eggs to be had. Pretty happy. Listen,
I think it's about time for writing prompts, because every writer needs some extra inspiration sometimes. And to help with that, we've searched far-off exotic lands and strange new worlds, and interviewed weird civilizations in order to bring you weekly writing prompts to get that writing flowing. We provide you with 10 one-liner writing prompts in order to get a story rolling. Use it as your first sentence, or see where you're, or try tossing a one-liner in the middle of a piece already in the works. Whatever gets your ideas flowing. And we also have 10 one-worders, which are more concept-driven for inspiration. Try tossing one or two of those into your piece for an extra challenge.
Wanker, really?
Okay, yeah, you're reading the prompts. I was wondering, were you laughing at me for some reason? Like, I'm not that hilarious. At least not last time I checked.
Drunk wanker.
Trent.
Drunk wanker!
I got hooked on bird wanker, actually.
Now I still have to actually open up the prompts so I can read them.
Sorry,
Unless people want to kick
I'm
things
always
off.
eager to displease you, my lady.
Sorry, got a little ahead.
So yeah, some of the one-liners for this week are obviously pretty entertaining. But the question is, can people make a story out of it?
For a third time in as many days, I awoke falling out of a tree. I really need to stop drinking.
Calvin, do you need an intervention?
What the laws of physics allow. Never really aligned.
Maybe.
What?
Red Solo Cup.
This is what I get for not having the right screen up.
Use your imagination.
Oh, that's worse. Calvin's in the room alone, so my imagination goes to pretty dark and dirty places.
As I was saying, it is not necessary to use all of these writing prompts at once, or even any of them. They're meant as an extra resource for you to use when your muse is tired and cranky, and there are deadlines possibly to be made. Or you just have some spare time to actually be writing for once. The writing prompts for this week are, of course, on fcwriters.com under the Muse Food section, and the link is also in the show notes for this episode over on fcwriters.com, and it'll be in the YouTube show notes as well once that's finally posted. And for this week, we also have a new set of story dice combinations to give you a more visual inspiration. And we use Rory's Story Cubes, and we use the app version for Android, although it's also available for iPhones and iPads and all those silly things. The combination of dice for this week, let's see, over on Calvin's screen, we have a surprised-looking elephant, the all-seeing eye, someone pushing a button, a chest facing the wrong way, someone about to get smacked in the face with a ball, someone who got smacked on his thumb, a book, I'm going to go with a raven, maybe a crow, and a disembodied head sleeping. And half the fun of these story cubes is trying to figure out your own interpretation of what the hell is on those dice. But the most entertaining trick is to try and work all 9 concepts into one overarching story. Some are easier to combine than others, but you never know until you try. And as always, if you write a piece of flash fiction or short story utilizing these cubes or the writing prompts we provide, email us a copy of your short piece or the URL where we can read it. Please try to keep it at 5,000 words or under if at all possible. Send us a message over at wordninja@fcwriters.com, and we will promote the piece on a future episode of the Word Ninja podcast and review it as well for good measure. And even though at least one of us keeps on saying, gee, I should write a story, based on one of these prompts. None of us ever do. One of these weeks, one of us is actually going to do that.
Yeah, no.
At some point.
If it's not within the next month, it's not going to happen this year. I know that. Nano season is going to kill that possibility.
Well, the problem I have is that a lot of the ideas that pop into my head based off these writing prompts aren't appropriate for this podcast.
Same here.
I have a feeling we're going to have an entire episode of the Not Suitable for Writers podcast of just our interpretations of the story cubes or the writing prompts.
Where we can actually discuss the first things that came to mind.
Yes.
Cat, no! No, no. Sorry. They put Bop. Bop, bop, bop,
An entire segment of dirty story dice.
bop.
That's a different set of dice, I think.
I'm sure someone owns them.
I'm sure you do.
I think I have a set of those somewhere.
Why aren't we using them?
Because I don't know where they ended up. There's a box somewhere, either in the garage or in my dad's barn. I know I have dirty dice somewhere, though.
That would not end well with our podcast.
Mm.
You'd have to combine them. You have to take what it says on the dirty dice and work it into what the other dice say.
Oh dear. If you want to actually see some of these combinations that we're making fun of, the Not Suitable for Writers podcast is going to be a new endeavor coming out sometime in November or December, considering we're not going to be doing recordings until late October. But that is going to be a premium offering on our website, where each episode is 69 cents. Because reasons.
Because why not?
Although the current setup is we're going to do seasons of the podcast for that one, where 10 episodes per season. So if you subscribe for $6.90, you'll be able to get 10 whole episodes of our uncensored shenanigans. And we'll set it up so you can purchase individual episodes as well, since each episode is going to be slightly different from the others. Some will be story dice, complications, some might just be reading of dirty stories, and of course the Cards Against Humanity episode or two. And I would like to do some one-off D&D episodes with all of us, somehow.
We can manage that.
And of course, since it's going to be uncensored, we can make it as ridiculous and awkward as possible.
So, like when we were playing before.
Yeah,
Exactly.
only recorded. Well, it looks like we're going to be giving you guys a short episode this week, because we have already wrapped everything up and said everything we have to say for this week. And with that, we will move on to the attributions of where people can find all of our crazy stuff on the internets. I'll go down the line, starting with Will.
Hello, I am Will, also on the interwebs known as Darkholm. Let's see, you can find my writing information for my story in progress, My Roommate's a Stripper, at myroommate'sastripper.tumblr.com. Again, as I say every week, this, like everything of mine, not safe for work. My personal Tumblr is darkholm.tumblr.com. You can find me on Twitter at Will Granville or on SoFurry at darkholm.sofurry.com.
So basically, you are not safe for work.
I am not safe for work.
And how about Ed?
Okay. Hi, Ed. The best place to find me is my Tumblr, which is thefullmetaledwardellric.tumblr.com. It is listed as not safe for work, but I'd say that makes up about 20% of my content. I do have couple Twitter accounts. My roleplay one is Ed the Alchemist, and my personal one is Midnight Alchemist. And I am also on DA at ladymidnight.deviantart.com. Don't ask. Please don't. We say this every week. I will not pay DA to change my username.
Wait,
so
you
if
have
we
to
ever
pay
do
them?
an AMA episode, what happens if someone asks that?
I will tell them I told them not to. Do that. And Calvin, to answer your question, yes, you have to have a premium paid membership to change your username.
Well, that's just silly.
That's...
Your turn.
Can I help you?
The cat has decided that it is Will's turn.
Oh, the cat is wrong. It's Calvin's turn.
Well, for attention.
Unless
It's still
the cat
Calvin's
has,
turn for attention.
unless the cat has any sort of attributions that he wants to contribute.
We haven't given him his own.
Yes, I am Calvin Williams. You can find me. You can find me on FC Writers if there's any issues you're having with the website. My email address is thewebmaster at fcwriters.com. You can also find me at the website Riffraff. I'm the digital media editor over around those parts. The website is riffraff.net, riffraff.net. My email address there is calvin@riffraff.net if you're having any website issues or if you know of any bands that you think we might be interested in interviewing. We interview a lot of artists and bands over there, to the point where our backlog is about 2 months.
Nice.
Let's see what else. I have my personal website and professional portfolio over at calvin.cwillia.ms. It's basically my full name with a couple of periods at least in between. My email address is calvin@cwillia.ms. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ccwii, and you can find me on Tumblr at instacal.tumblr.com. So there you go.
And if you didn't catch all of that, read the show notes.
Yes, there's that too.
RTFS. And with that, I am Charles Muir, again, your instigator of literary insanity and the coordinator of all the stuff you can find over at Full Coverage Writers, which is at fcwriters.com. You can reach out to me via email at wordninja@fcwriters.com. And we're also over on Tumblr at fcwordninja.tumblr.com. Kind of see a pattern here? For Facebook, we are facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters, and our literary Twitter is at fcwordninja. And if there are any talking points you'd like us to cover in future episodes, or anything you'd like us to go over again and dig into deeper, send us an email or post a comment on YouTube. Yes, as always, like, share, comment, spread the good word of our podcast and all that we do. We always love new viewers, listeners, and friends that we can argue with about writing stuff. With that, we are signing out for the week. Until next time, all.
Cheers.
New past endings, alternate endings, and all that fun stuff. Let's see. I've attempted crazy-ass crossovers, like combining the Legacy of Drizzt universe with the World of Warcraft universe.
How'd that go?
Chaotic. Part of it was I could never figure out which way to go. Do I take the Forgotten Realms cast and put them into Azeroth, or do I take the Warcraft people and throw them into Faerun? Because that makes the big difference. Considering magic works completely different ways in the two universes. I've also taken, when I was reading Harry Potter, I took some of my old original characters that I created way back in high school and was like, what happens if I take these two and throw them into Hogwarts as students? How would they react? Mostly, one of them just kept complaining about the lack of Wi-Fi. What do you mean there's no electricity? How am I supposed to charge my cell phone? But yeah, I've never actually written any of these things down though. They all only exist in my head. But I've definitely done it.
I've lost count of how many of those what-if scenarios I've run through my head for like even up to 20 minutes. Never wrote a word of it down though.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably better that way.
Probably. That's what I say. It's like this stuff isn't worth writing down. It's entertaining in my head, but I think it should just stay there.
Some of the stuff you come up with really should stay there.
Oh, shush. You're just as bad.
We're getting there.
And we'll do a brief 20-second interlude to say hello to Calvin. You made it.
Hello, Calvin.
Thanks for the invite.
All 4 of them. Figured one of the accounts got to work.
Well, you could.
How do you accidentally kill someone on purpose? Or purposefully kill someone on accident?
I swear I thought that gun was unloaded.
That's exactly how it would be for Ed too, swear to God.
Could have one of those scenarios where you go to shoot someone with an unloaded gun and the fear of getting shot gives them a heart attack and they die anyway. Then you would accidentally kill someone on purpose.
Problem solved.
I also like changing endings. But I'm horrible like that.
Anything to keep him away from Winry?
No! I make it plausible, shut up. And I write him with Winry too.
I know.
I'm not that bad.
Sometimes you are.
I can write him with Winry. I write him with other girls too, it's not just boys I write him with either. Because I know you were going to say something. Like, I'm actually massaging a quite interesting storyline between Ed and Maria Ross. Shush. It's cute. Shut up.
We didn't say a thing.
I don't have to see his face to know what's on it.
On that note, I'll chime in. I tend to just like to try and break other people's universes. My example for this question was the Harry Potter universe and the whole polyjuice potion. Like, what if you take the hair of someone who's already using the polyjuice potion, and then you make a polyjuice potion from that? So, would your polyjuice potion turn yourself into the true imposter or the person that they are pretending to be? Which one overrides the other?
Ooh.
That's interesting.
And then, is it just, how do temporal mechanics fit in? So say you're 20 years old.
So I'm guessing we're on question 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
In terms of storybook worlds, I can't really say that I've tried to figure out ways to inject myself into any sort of world that I've read. Music-wise, I kind of thrive on going on and expanding upon the ideas of various songs I've listened to and composers and songwriters that I really like and I gain inspiration from. That's for like TV shows and movies and things like that. I think the only show I've ever tried to expand upon or try to inject myself or characters into was the Wolf's Rain world.
I still need to watch that series.
Too soon.
Bad Calvin.
Sorry. Sorry, that was one of my favorite animes next to Cowboy Bebop.
I'm gonna agree with that one, but it ripped my heart out and stomped it on the floor several times.
I know I was there about 8 years ago, so I understand how you feel. But I can Wolf's Rain I've tried to figure out basically could I survive such a dystopia as either a human or a wolf living life as a human.
I'd rather be the wolf, then at least you could talk to the other animals.
You do raise a good point there. That all my scenarios point to no.
Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk, and welcome to the Word Ninja Podcast. We're a 2-hour ramble of writers surviving muses, battling writer's blocks, and encouraging writers to write already. You're joining us for episode 11. And today we have our co-hosts, Edward Midnight and William Granville,
Howdy.
or Darkholm. And Calvin will be joining us along the way at some point. Justin is unable to join us this afternoon because life kidnapped him. It happens.
Should we make a rescue team, try to save him from life?
Yeah, maybe next week. We'll see if he sends out an SOS. But in the meantime, I thought we'd get things rolling. We have some entertaining talking points for you this episode. And kicking things off is talking point number 1. Have you ever taken a facet of a story's universe and tried to either break it, expand it, or figure out what would happen if you really thought outside the proverbial box? And considering the way Edward is rocking back and forth, I'm going to skip him and go over to Will.
Alright, first I want to say Calvin is attempting to join us, but he apparently did not receive the invite.
That's because I only sent it to one of his 2 accounts. Alright, I'll resend it to both of them for good measure.
Alright. Okay, so, taking a facet of a story's universe and tried to expand it, break it, warp it to my own mutated sensibilities. Only almost every story I've ever read in the history of ever. Not just books and novels, but movies, TV series, video games, manga, anything. If it pulls me in, if I get sucked enough into the story, I will continue it. Put in new angles, create alternate storylines, continue.
I wouldn't last all that long.
I feel the same way about zombie apocalypses sometimes. Like, would I really do that well in that type of a scenario? No.
No, with us it would definitely be a Shaun of the Dead scenario. I'm going to check to see if the coast is clear. Peek! Peek! Is it clear? No.
And how about Ed?
I loved this one. Because simply for the fact that being a roleplay writer and a fanfic writer, I live on this. I'm that person that will sit there and come up with all this stuff and actually be the one to write it down. When, most people would say, no, stop. I love doing it. Like I said, being an RP writer, I almost have to do that, because everybody and their grandmother has read the original story, and it's not fun to just play that, you have to almost ask yourself, what if, or could I create a character that would fit in this world? The brainchild of many OCs, but we won't get into OCs. I have a serious bone to pick with a lot of people in their OC creations, but that's for another time. But yeah, no, I love it, because I sit there and, like, I take my primary character, Ed, and a lot of people actually hate me for this one. Or love me to hate me, I'm not entirely sure. But, and I'll take it, and I'll look at it like, well, what would happen if, like, Ed has this major thing against killing people? Well, what happens if he does? Stuff like that. I think that's kind of how I use it.
On purpose or by accident?
Both.
At the same time?